Hey everyone, this is Gleb. Imagine you have a couple of buttons, and the classes on the buttons are pretty much the same except for the case. Can you somehow select both buttons by making your class selector, which in this case is just an attribute, case-insensitive? Now, if you add I, which should be a valid suffix on CSS selector, it should make this button-primary class case-insensitive. Let's see how it runs. Let me move to the side. Okay, so Cypress complains that it's unrecognized expression. Now, is it right? Let's open DevTools. I'm gonna clear the console and I'm gonna just point at those buttons. If we just select the selector and we use the built-in query, selector all command, right, which has a shortcut $$ in the browser, notice it actually shows both buttons, right? You can see run too. So this is a valid CSS syntax. What's even more curious, if you, instead of the built-in DevTools query selector method, if you call Cypress jQuery, then it also returns those two buttons. It's just cy.get does this initial selector, I guess escape, and gets confused. Okay, so how can we get the buttons on the page without using cy.get? Well, if Cypress.jQuery works, then we can just call it. It's a static page. We can call the jQuery and then wrap the result and add more assertions. So right here we can say Cypress bundle jQuery that's included and just wrap the results, because cy.get yields you a jQuery object anyway, right? So you can add assertions, commands, do whatever you want. This works pretty well if a page is static, because you're only calling the Cypress jQuery once. It gives you existing elements and you confirm where to them. Let me modify this example to make this dynamic. So instead of two buttons, I'll have an element with ID buttons, and that's where I will add two buttons after 1 second. Now the same code doesn't work, even though you can see the buttons have appeared, because the jQuery only was executed once, found 0 elements, and you're still checking with empty jQuery object again and again. So we need to somehow retry calling this Cypress $, and this is a method call. Notice the object is big Cypress static object, and the method name is $character, which means we can do the following. Just wrap the big Cypress and then use invoke to call this method, right? And pass this selector as an argument. Now, cy.invoke is a query command. It will be retried if the attached assertion doesn't pass. It will go back and it will take the same big Cypress, call the $ method again, and maybe this time the page will return something. Let's see if it works. Okay, perfect. It does work. Notice it keeps retrying and retrying until the buttons appear, and then this method returns a jQuery with two objects, and we are past the assertion, and the test completes successfully. Now, I would maybe make it a little bit more explicit, because we know the loading puts some elements into the buttons in this case, so we can say cy.get buttons not be empty. Okay, so it keeps retrying, the buttons element is not empty, and instead of retrying using cy.invoke, we can do the following. We can say then, and in this case, go back to our original code where we queried the page, wrapped it, and confirmed their two elements. Because by that point, the page becomes static, and a single call to jQuery returns the elements. So this is what you can do to use case-insensitive CSS selectors in Cypress.